You're training your brain to like what you see and to seek it out. It's giving you an unrealistic expectation of reality. If you think you're going to see these Instagram models in real life, you're wrong. That's not what real women look like. That's not an accurate depiction of real beauty. So next time you come across this sort of content online, click not interested, remove the account, mute those types of words, and avoid it entirely. You will ruin your mental health and you will ruin your future relationship.
The scenario you described, that person
could say that something might happen in your life, some kind of early trauma, I guess. Your dad screams in your face that you're a piece of shit when you're 3 years old. You develop some sort of addictive behaviors to deal with the stress and the dopamine, the cortisol that's running through your body. So that becomes domino number 2.
Great.
And then you struggle and battle the addiction. It ruins your life. Your partner says she's going to leave you because of this addiction that you have. The pain of making a change is greater than the pain of staying the same. So you go to rehab and you go on the journey. You overcome it. Maybe there is still a hole or a gap.
There is. You will not overcome it. The scenario you described, that person will relapse. Okay, so the scenario that you said, okay, was you realize that the pain of not giving up the addiction hurts more than the pain of giving it up. That's not gonna work. If you say, okay, the consequences of the addiction are so high that I have to give it up. The reason that doesn't work is because you're being forced, right? So if the goal of this is to give in to myself and reduce my total amount of pain, if it's a calculation to reduce my pain, I'm still giving into the part of myself that wants to lessen pain. If I'm giving into the part of myself that wants to lessen pain, the addiction will continue. Not 100%, but that's like honestly my clinical experience. The way to beat it is saying, fuck it, there's gonna be pain. I'm gonna embrace that pain. I don't need to run away from pain anymore. I don't need to choose the lesser evil. I'm gonna choose the greater evil because it's the right thing to do.
Surrender.
Surrender and challenge, right? So that's what's kind of confusing for people. Surrender in this case means allowing yourself to walk the hard path, not being trapped by I have to lessen the pain in my life.
I try to stay off of pornography, man. That's one of my biggest arch nemesis is pornography. It just weakens me. I put all my sexual, my fantasies and stuff, they're not mine anymore. Somebody created them better than my imagination can. And so they live in these, on the internet in these boxes. And it's like, and if it's not mine, I think, then I don't value it as much or something. And it like weakens my ability to like be able to have sex and like be comfortable in that sort of world. And
really?
Oh yeah. I get used to watching the sex and seeing it and not having to like be engaged with my actual feelings or anything. So then I see it and I still get all the joys out of it, but I don't have any of the feelings attached to it. So then when I am engaging with somebody that I care about or something, it just doesn't calculate for me emotionally as well.
Corn, right? And in relationships and dudes you're dating, I don't know how you find out about that. Maybe they self-report or you find something on his phone, whatever it is. Now, the majority of men are going to watch that, right? I don't. I haven't for several years now, but it is tough to not, right? Men are visually stimulated, women more literally stimulated, right? Through fantasy, reading, all that type of stuff. Men watch it to get a release, right? I mean, women do it too to self-soothe, but men are more driven by that. Sperm production factories, right? But if you're in a relationship and this is happening now, is it a bad thing? Is it cheating? Technically it is cheating, right? On the lowest level, a digital level, it's physical, visual level, right? The worst sin would be a man emotionally cheating. But is it the deepest form of love? No. But typically it's an extension of his lack of self-discipline, right? And even when he was single, he was probably doing that, which probably made him get fewer girls, right? Because he's self-soothing. It doesn't release as much prolactin, oxytocin, dopamine as doing the act with someone real, right? Which is why you shouldn't self-soothe with it. Gives you the psychological illusion that you're an island. It also makes you objectify the opposite gender, right? So is it a negative? 100%. Should you be telling him, oh, I feel bad when you do that, etc., and try to control him? No, then he'll just find ways to sneak it. You should judge him on it. You should withdraw. And he should find out that you know about it and you're withdrawing because of that. But don't tell him to not do it. He'll find ways, and he'll resent you. Honestly, you should just.
If I'm in a Christian dating relationship and my boyfriend is addicted to pornography, how do I help my boyfriend overcome his porn addiction? I have been getting this question so much, especially over the last 48 hours. I'm going to be direct, but I'm going to try to say this in a very approachable way. If you are a young woman who is following Jesus Christ and you desire to be courted properly, God's blessing to you is not going to be a man who is addicted to watching explicit content online. One of the things that makes me so viciously mad about this is the circumstance that it's a dating relationship and Christian women are staying. I think as Christian women, because we're so nurturing, we think that we have to stick things out with someone and you need to stick your neck out for someone because it's the Christ-like thing to do. But there are times where you need to put up severe boundaries with somebody, especially in the case of love and romance, because we know that Satan loves to toy with the girlies, the Christian girlies. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. You need to enact that and he needs to enact that. You need to put up self-control and know your worth. He needs to put up self-control with explicit content to respect you, himself, and God. There's a lot of women that fear being alone, so they would rather stay with a man who's addicted to pornography than not at all. But in the Bible, it says, God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. If this man is not protecting your purity along with his, if this man is not leading you correctly, then you need to break up with him. I cannot fathom women staying in a relationship that does not bring them peace, security, love, and respect. Period. At the end of the day. If a man is unrepentant about the sin of watching pornography, you need to create a barrier, separate yourself. Sometimes you need to sever that bridge of romance with someone, even if it's for a season, because it will completely cloud your judgment if you are offering them more emotional security and solutions to their own porn addiction than themselves. If your man is addicted to pornography and you are not legally bound to them, break up, please.
Here's my take on why so many young women are frustrated and tired of young men. Young men are addicted to distraction. So you've got the dopamine rush of porn usage, social media, video games, and it all adds up to a lack of real world pressure testing. There's no risk. There's no real risk. You don't even have to ask a woman out face to face any longer. So with that environment, they're constantly seeming busy, but really underfulfilled. They often grow up without clear role models. The father is missing from the home. There's nobody to look to in society any longer that can even act their age in public life. So they go back online. And what do they find online? They find the alpha male crowd who has figured out that they can somehow monetize this situation and sell these young men some toxic version of masculinity in a course for $19.95. My next point is they've lost the why. Okay, so it used to be that providing for a family was your North Star. But the alpha males have robbed us of that. So now we're left with things that legacy or maybe originally survival. Okay, those really aren't on the table right now for people. So what do? They chase likes, they chase their status, they chase fast and easy money. It's not that they don't have any ambition. They have ambition. It's just that their ambition is not aligned to any particular North Star or clear goal. I also think that masculinity develops under pressure and stress, okay? And the family is oftentimes where that early construct is made. So for example, when I was a kid, I had to play on a team sport because my parents wanted me to experience being on a team and have physical discipline. I had to mow the lawn. I had to do the dishes. Nobody was kissing my ass for it or giving me an allowance for it or coddling me for it. It was an expectation of the family required that a young man do that. Finally, there's a spiritual starvation. So young men and many young women are not anchored to anything. There's no faith. There's nothing bigger than themselves. And so this leads to a hedonistic escapism that is fueled and intensified by some of the things that I mentioned earlier. And I'm not saying any of this to shame young men, but rather I am encouraging you to build on something, build your body, build a business, build your education, build your family, whatever it is. And each day you have a contract with yourself where you're checking boxes and doing things as a man. And when you do that, you build your own confidence. You can't buy confidence online for $20 from an alpha male. You got to construct it day by day, task by task, looking toward your personal North Star that you say matters.
If you're dating a guy and he's watching porn 10 to 15 times a day, he's got a porn addiction. And it won't get better and they won't stop. I'm not talking about the guy that watches it now and again. I'm talking about the guy that cannot even go one day without it. I'm telling you right now, these sorts of men are just not worth dating. They're not worth your time because they will lie about it. They have a psychological addiction. And when they wake up every single morning, if you knew what was going through their head from the morning to the afternoon, the weird stuff, you would not like it. This will be a never-ending battle like any other substance. They just get angrier and sneakier. And if they had the addiction before you, they're going to have it while they're with you. Their whole day revolves around cues of when they can watch it next. And when they miss that cue, you'll notice this is when they're going to be angry about something that you just can't quite put your finger on. It will then push them to the extent of watching it in their car, watching it after work, watching it when they get to work, watching it in the shed, but most of the time they do it while you're sleeping. It's not quality of life. It's not something you can laugh about. And there's actually like a psychological issue that needs treatment. But like any addiction, it'll come back. It always does. At some point, something will trigger it again. And it'll be a never-ending battle. Even when these men may look and act like they're fine, I promise you, they're not fine. They're not okay. They're being controlled every minute of the day. It is not quality of life. That's why I say if you can help it, I would just avoid this person, because unless it's something you're okay with dealing with, then that's fine. Because I'm telling you, every minute of the day, this man is not present with you the way that you think he is.
Men who are trapped in an addiction, when they're confronted by their spouse, what happens is that they become very flustered and they start to defend themselves, and they lie and they lie and they lie to cover up. And so they start to act like a little 10-year-old or a little 8-year-old little boy. Why would they act like that? Why wouldn't they just man up and be an adult and tell the truth and deal with the issue at hand? Because they were wounded at a very young age. Their emotional state of mind was dented in a way that they couldn't grow anymore emotionally, but they grew up as a man, and they learn behaviors to minimize or to medicate pain that took place at the age of 8. So the 8-year-old little boy or 10-year-old little boy is always in control of the emotions. So they just keep medicating. They medicate it with porn, they medicate it with sex, they medicate it with work, rather than going back to that little boy and saying, hey, you kept me alive during that time, but you know what? I can't keep acting the way you're acting. I need to grow up, and you're holding me back.
Sanbonani, gents, let's talk about addiction to masturbation, or what we call masturbation addiction, right? I use the word addiction loosely, but it may have started as, you know, you exploring as a young man, and then now you grew with it. Or it may have started as a coping mechanism before you got married as a Christian guy. Now you are married and you don't know how to unlearn that habit. It's affecting your sex life. So you'd rather masturbate than actually engage with your wife sexually. Or even when you engage with your wife sexually, you want to compensate that with a masturbation. It's affecting your social life. You would rather, you know, isolate yourself and actually, you know, masturbate than to socialize with other people. It's affecting your self-esteem. You feel shameful when you masturbate, and after you've masturbated, you don't like it. It's becoming a compulsive behavior. You cannot control it. Then it has become an addiction, right? So here's good news. The good news is that it's something that you have learned, and you can actually also unlearn it. So you can actually get usizo and be, you know, be rehabilitated and get therapy and actually, you know, deal with the addiction to masturbation, you know. So don't let it ruin your life, don't let it ruin your marriage, don't let it ruin your relationships, because sometimes to other guys it's so bad in a sense that women feel like they're not enough. They feel like, you know, they're not sexy enough, they're not beautiful enough, you're not attracted to them. Kanti, the problem is not them, the problem is the addiction that you find yourself entangled in. Jongomchita. Hey gents, let's talk about these things and address them. Sharp.
6 signs that your man might have a porn addiction. This is not the case for every single guy out there, but from my opinion and my personal experience, this is definitely the case for a lot of them. If he is mean or distant or cruel, has a lot of like anger or rage that kind of comes out of nowhere, and a lot of the times is over things that truly just don't make sense or don't require like getting mad or upset. If he has dysfunction or premature, I can't say those words on here. Unfortunately, for an extended period of time, over years, even if you're not watching it every day, can have a very detrimental effect on your body and the way that your body responds to intimacy, physical intimacy. Dysfunction can occur whenever the man is so used to being stimulated by videos, fantasy, and fiction that in a real life situation, he's unable to get hard, stay hard, or to get off. Premature occurs over years of using corn. They are training their bodies to come within a certain amount of minutes because they don't want to be sitting, at work or at home or in the car for, 10, 15 minutes just to get the job done. So they do it quickly. And then when it comes to being with a woman, they can also come pretty quickly. All of these, you can obviously get diagnosed medically through your doctor, but these are just things I've definitely noticed. If he is telling you that he used to watch it or he used to have a problem with it, but he just doesn't anymore, he just grew out of it, or he just did a devotional and all of a sudden it wasn't a problem anymore, he's probably lying. And if he cannot give you a detailed step-by-step way that he recovered from this addiction from watching porn, then he most likely is still watching it. If he is constantly objectifying women, and that doesn't always mean like he's complimenting them or pointing out good things about them. A lot of times men in relationships that are hiding a porn addiction will talk about other women's bodies in a negative way, regardless he is objectifying them, or he will talk badly about other women. And also, whenever a man is kind of making every situation sexual, making sexual jokes all the time in every situation, it almost seems like it's his personality, but probably not just his personality. It's probably because he is so used to watching porn and having that a part of his routine. And lastly, if he is constantly making jokes about you having affairs, you cheating on him, you being with other men, having other boyfriends, whatever, that can also be a sign. These are not definite ways that he definitely has an addiction, but these can point towards a porn addiction.
If a man is addicted to corn, does he lose attraction to your body? Yes, unfortunately, this happens. Our brains were never meant to handle consuming corn, thousands of videos, looking at thousands of women. And over time, their brain is going to develop a chemical dependency, and corn will rewire their brain over time. It rewires it, and you lose the ability to have intimacy in your relationship because you are looking constantly for more and more vulgar corn as your brain becomes desensitized to having sex or lusting after other women. His brain, yes, will eventually see you as boring, dull, and unattractive. The excitement of being with you will lose its spark. Our brain was never meant to handle consuming hundreds of women, and our brains are not evolving with how quickly that this is being accessible to us. With the iPhone's development and then OnlyFans and accounts like Pornhub being released over the last couple years, that's why we're seeing an epidemic of this, and women don't understand where this is coming from. OF blew up in 2020 to 2021 with 123 million subscribers during that period. So that is why over time, if for a man who is lusting, you will never be enough for a man that has a lust problem. Porn also does not require any emotional effort because there's no pressure to please these women. All these women pretend to find your partner attractive, desirable, that they want him. Even if they're not actively communicating one-on-one, what they're seeing in porn gives their brain that dopamine hit to feel that way. In real life, relationships have conflict, they have drama, they have episodes of where we've got to work things out. Or even in bed, if he has been addicted to looking at porn, which is all about performance and completely unrealistic sex expectations in the bedroom, he is then going to feel that pressure in the bedroom to please you in the same way. And it's unrealistic what his expectations even are. So it's much more easy and simple and effortless to look at Corin to get off to versus being in a bedroom with his partner and learning her body and what her needs are and what pleases her. It's a lot more pressure. So they view sex as pressure and not intimacy. Good news is that porn-reduced attraction can be reversed with continued sobriety, and that is why I tell women, set a boundary that you will not accept porn in your relationship and you want these men to get recovery. They have to have a recovery plan if they're going to get out of this. Recovery, one-on-one accountability, and a men's support group to learn how to be authentic and vulnerable. Those are things my husband offers. There's several other coaches out there who offer the same thing. And that is why it is so important for you to set boundaries, because it's not healthy to be in a relationship with a man who can't be intimate with you, cannot connect with you, can't be authentic with himself or you. And 9 out of 10 times this does inevitably spiral into infidelity in the marriage.
Addiction seems to be one of the biggest problems that is plaguing men nowadays. It seems like a lot of, especially young men, I think I would, if I were to give it an age, I would say from maybe their early teens all the way up until maybe their late 20s, 30s, somewhere there. And the more I research about it, the more I realize that it's almost like gambling addiction and addiction to pornography are the most prevalent addictions amongst men, and they're actually destroying a lot of men. I mean, some of the extreme situations that I came across when I was researching when I was doing this video. Number one was a lot of men who are married and who are addicted to pornography. They actually tend to prefer watching these explicit videos than actually engaging in intimate, actions with their spouse, which is insane to me. To prefer watching a video over engaging in the real thing, it's insane. It's actually insane. And the other one is gambling addiction, sports betting, addiction. I mean, you hear about a lot of men who, put their whole houses or take out loans just to bet. Which you all know that a lot of this, betting companies, they rig all of these things. And they lose it. 9 times out of 10, you will lose more than you win. And even when you win, sometimes you just win small money. If you had to add all the money that you've used on sports betting or on gambling in general, you will realize that the amount of money that you spend on gambling is way more than the money that you've gained. Now, there's nothing wrong with gambling at its core, as long as you don't overindulge in it. Even with pornography, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The problem is when you start to overindulge in these things. And once you start to indulge more and more into these things, you almost like you get hooked. It's almost like cocaine or some of these substances that you get addicted to, like nicotine. And you just can't stop. You keep wanting more and more and more and more. And addiction just destroying a lot of men, which is why I think it's very, very important as men, to do some self-reflecting, especially the ones that have went through down this path of addiction, especially these particular 2 addictions. Because I think it's reasonable and I think it's fair for women, especially who are married, to feel like they don't want to put their lives at risk by dealing with a man who's addicted to these things. Even though I don't think it's, I think you should work through someone, you should help someone get over, you know, some of these issues that they're having. But at the same time, I understand why they would want to leave when a man is going through this phase. So I think as men, you need to be, you need to be careful. You need to avoid overindulging in these things. My preference is that don't do it at all. Because if you don't do it at all, you eliminate all the chances of you getting addicted. You limit all the chances that you may have of, getting addicted to these things. So I think it's better if you don't indulge at all into these things. Or if you do indulge in it, just do it once in a while. I mean, you hear stories of guys who can go a day without watching porn 10 times a day, 15 times a day. I mean, bro, I don't even think you still have any sensation after that. 15 times a day, that's too much. That I don't, nope. How do you even have time to watch something like this 10 times a day? And you hear they do it at work and after work in the car. No, that's too much. That is way too much. So I think as men, you need to be careful. Don't indulge in these activities. And also, think about how your actions might affect, if you have a family, may affect your family. There are whole guys who go homeless, who lose their houses, who lose their cars because of this. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And instead of engaging in these things, I think you should substitute them with, I don't know, going to the gym or something. Just find something to keep you busy. And don't go through this thing alone. When you feel like you have an addiction, I think you should get someone that you trust. You express your problems to them, and maybe they can help you find help, or they can you don't just deal with this alone, and don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed at all. So yeah, you guys drop down to the comments. Let me know what your thoughts on men having this addiction problem, both pornography and gambling, and how you think they should deal with it.